In year 9, going through a really tough moment for both of us and our friends and our families, losing one of our best friends to suicide. I was 15 at the time, so when you're trying to figure out the grips of life and stuff, and a really traumatic and hurtful experience comes up, it's not easy to understand what's happening around you. It's not easy to talk to others. You don't even know how you're feeling at the time. That really affected me. Found myself getting into trouble and behaving in ways that I've never have before. Getting myself in trouble at school and putting myself in a really bad situation to the point where it kind of ruined my reputation with the people around me. It made me scared and anxious to even go out to shopping centres, to even talk to other people that wasn't in my friend group, because I was so fearful of what they'd think about me, if they believed the things that they heard about me and whatnot. Our pastors at the time, when we first heard the news and they first heard the news of this passing, it was an instant, let's meet tomorrow night at a McDonald's and just catch up and just be there for each other. Even the night of when we found out, the next morning we were all at school just to be there with each other. We didn't want to go learn at school. After you hear that news, you just want to be with your friends, and you want to feel supported and loved. And sometimes you don't really know what to say. You don't know how to express your feelings and emotions sometimes verbally. So I just remember, even when I heard the news, just going to my mum and just giving her a hug, and I don't think I even told her for a few minutes. I just hugged her and cried and cried and cried. And she asked me once or twice, but she's like, no, I just need to be here for my boy. 6 years later, a lot of the experiences I had when that first happened has carried on to today. So the way that I reach out to people is it happens a lot easier now. I reach out a lot quicker. I speak up a lot more because I know the true importance of actually just speaking out, reaching out. Unfortunately, I had to learn that the hard way. But if I could express to the world, please speak out. And please reach out, regardless how embarrassing or even it's the deepest, darkest secret, like it can change your life.
Yeah, in that sort of situation, especially as a 15, 16-year-old, you don't know what's happening. The pastors and even teachers at school, they did an absolutely amazing job. I think reaching out to us, I think that was a big part of what helped us to get through, because there was nowhere to reach for us. There was nowhere for us to grab. There was no solutions that we knew of to deal with something so harsh like this. Just the effort of people around us as well to recognize that we need just intense love and that we need that connection to just grab our hand. You don't even have to know what to say. I don't even remember probably half of the things that people said to me, but just the fact that they were physically there with me and physically there to help our group and to just show compassion to our group, not force us to speak, not force us to, keep going strong, keep learning and keep studying. Like, no, that wasn't a part of it. It was about making our feelings real, making our feelings valid and not something to have to push away.
And I think we're also really always focused with the highlights and the good parts of our life. We only see on each other's social media pages the best bits and the best moments, and we kind of forget about the struggles and the harder things that we go through and what happens behind closed doors. So it may actually, we might forget what our friends are going through, or if we should actually check in on them or not. Like, our lives are so busy with uni and with work and with relationships and whatnot. I think we actually forget to leave our priorities behind sometimes for other people. Another friend that I have, Kieran, like one of the best listeners, incredible with the way he just slows down and you can just see that he's really, really listening to you. Even though he hasn't said a word, it's just the nods of approval that he understands me, that he hears me. That's exactly what I feel like not just myself, but so many millions of other people in this world actually need. I got a phone call from my dad while I was with Kieran, and it was some really bad news. And getting off the phone with my dad, I put the phone down, I looked at Kieran and I told him what happened, and he instantly just moved away from his computer, from his desk, from the work, from his literal job. He just moved away from that and said, that can wait, because what you're going through right now is actually more important.
You don't even have to help someone in the moment. You don't even have to take action. You don't have to interrupt and give them a solution, but literally just being there, just looking at them in the eyes and not condemning them for how they feel, but letting them pour it out and just being unfazed in a way that their feelings are normal and real. And I think that even when you go out and you talk to someone who's on the outside of your situation, you know, when you're so stressed and consumed by what you're going through, it's hard to think rationally and it's hard to really have grace for yourself. So when you go to someone who's outside of these things, they're not feeling stressed, they're in a calmer state, you know, they're able to help you, they're willing to help you, they have that strength to help you. I've seen a clinical psychologist for a long time, and it's just helped so much. The amazing things that they share about the root cause of what you're going through, not even just the symptoms of it and how to put a band-aid on it, but really getting to what the problem is and how you can solve that, how you can help yourself. Friends and family have, you know, so many different roles that they can provide for you, like, you know, being there to listen, being a shoulder to lean on, you know. But I think that, you know, seeing someone like a psychologist or a counselor or even a teacher that are very professional, they're so skilled in being passionate about mental health, about the science behind mental health, because there are so many sciences that can really help us to understand, like I said, the root cause of what's going on, because a lot of people like to put a band-aid over the symptoms. But yeah, even just understanding from a scientific perspective and from a psychological perspective what's really happening and how can I help myself, even that is so good. It gave me so much freedom. Yeah. The fact that you can feel joy, the fact that you can feel happiness, it's the same for the opposite. You can feel sadness, you can feel grief. That's just how your brain works. That's how God created you, to feel the things that experiences will bring you. There are not only good experiences in life, but there are also bad experiences. And I think we need to normalize more. I think the world has so abnormalized the fact that we can feel sad and down because of, I think, social media is such a big one. It's just like there's such a standard that social media has brought to look perfect all the time, that mental health for some reason is something taboo and something that's just abnormal, when really that's just who we are. We experience different emotions. We have to process emotions, and our struggles really come about when we're not allowed to struggle and we're not allowed to process our emotions.
Seeing a counselor and seeing a psychologist is such a normal thing. I think it's absolutely having a balance of actually professional and relational help is super, super important, depending on what you're going through and what you're experiencing. Actually encouraging a friend or a family member, or hey, you know, psychological help is actually there for you. It's actually a service that you're able to go for. To defeat fear, you have to be fearless. You have to jump into the deep end, whether it's cold water or hot water. You just got to go in for it. And sometimes what we do is we set up these false ideas of what people are going to react or how they're going to respond. We kind of make up these scenarios in our head, but it's actually like, sometimes it's so simple. Just by asking the question, how are you going? It might spark the best, most deep and intimate conversation that can truly, truly change someone's life.
I mean, the worst something someone can say is, no, I don't want to talk about it right now.
Absolutely.
But even then, that doesn't really have to do with you. If anything, that lets them know by taking that step that you are there to listen, that you want to listen. And, you know, they might just have to work up the courage to talk to you. But from that, they know that you're there. And more times than not, they will come back to you and say, hey, I've got this thing that is really important that I need to talk about. And from then, you know, taking that step of faith, you know, and being fearless in that way, you know, it's really, really key to building that trust. You always open up to the people that you trust the most, that you feel safe with the most. So it even starts with just building that strong
100%.
Relationship, asking them, you know, about what they did that day, about their passions, especially if you don't know them, just getting to know them. And I feel like eventually when you do get to know them, you know how to better help them as well. I found it hard to reach out still, just because, you know, it's just my character, it's just the way I am. I find it that I just suppress my emotions a lot. So I think, being judgmental towards people is one of the biggest things you can do to close that opportunity. They might not share everything, but building that trust is really the key to helping them open up and to share what they really need to share and what really matters to them. And that can be a life changer for them. But it starts with the previous steps, what you're doing to help build that strong connection.
I find myself a lot when I'm stressed and when I have a bit of anxiety, I'm always just seeking my mates, just want to dap up my mates, just give them a hug, just messaging a mate saying, hey bro, just want to let you know I love you. That's something that I've been really doing a lot the last few years. I know the group I have around me. I know the people who understand me the most. I know the people that I can be vulnerable with. And I think just spending time with them, whether it's actually making the effort to spend time with them or when I see them at youth, at young adults.
I think friendships can be really tough, and going through mental health in school can be really, really tough. And I think even the standards that social media has set can be honestly really detrimental to girls' mental health, especially because there's a need to to have this highlight reel and to look perfect and to look glamorous. Yeah, even the moments where I've felt the most heard and felt the most valued is when I've, been in a group of girls and, like a pastor or a teacher who's just showed me that they don't care what I look like, they don't care what I sound like, they just care about, my heart, and they care about what's going on inside, and that I can actually process that and go through that. There will always be challenges, especially in school and with young women. There will always be challenges, especially, in friendships, but there's always people there that you can find that will be there to not judge you and to listen to you just open-heartedly. One of the strongest things that we have is being like-minded in imitating Jesus, and in that we can imitate the way that Jesus treated others. And I think that the Lord tells us to be humble. He tells us to not to put ourselves above others, but to put others above ourselves. And I think when you imitate that and not rely on your own strength or skills, that's where immense change comes. And I think that the pastors have just done such an incredible job at not relying on their own strengths, but just relying on the foundation which we all believe in, and that's loving the way that Jesus loved and imitating him and living according to the scriptures and what the word tells us how to live righteously. Yeah.
When you look outside into the world as well, it's a very stressful place where people are hurt, they're burdened, they're weary. And the positive thing about the church is that we have the answer. We have the breaker of chains, we have the Prince of Peace. If we see the outside world and we see that the outside world is struggling and suffering, it starts in the church to actually start building up fellowship, to start building up people who believe that they can carry freedom because we carry the Spirit of God in us, that we can go out into the world and reach out our hands to every single person and actually bring them closer to Christ as well. He's the ultimate answer to defeating mental health, to journeying through mental health with one another, through fellowship. All the answers are in Jesus. And I think as well as through all getting psychological help, getting relational help with people, the power of prayer, the power of faith. We aren't perfect. Like, we actually make mistakes, and we cannot be perfect with the way that we interact with others and with the way that we help them through their mental health issues. Even if you've had a bad experience in your past with listening to someone, if you even have grown up in a household where people haven't listened to you at all, and you may feel actually lonely and that your words and your feelings don't matter, in the church, none of that matters. Like, in the church, all those lies are broken, all those, it's just the truth that everyone is welcome, that everyone has a voice to share how they're feeling, what they're going through, free of judgment, and with love and compassion, because that's what Christ would do for us. I believe that all of us are called to be in the world, to be there for other people. For we live in a really broken world. We live in a world that needs Jesus more than it ever has. As the body of the church, being the church, we have to go out and be the light. We have to be there for our workmates, for colleagues, for peers, for our students, for whoever, for those who are at church, who are at City Life. Get out there, go for it. Take the risk, jump into the deep waters. Like, it might be tough, it might be stressful, but it's eternity at stake. The eternity of other people. Every one of us carries freedom because we carry Jesus in our hearts. We carry the Spirit of God in us. What more do you need to be equipped to listen, to hear, to help people through mental health issues? Because yes, you might have the people around you, but the Lord will always carry you through. If I could tell anything to the church, it's like the battle is already won. You might be going through a tough season, but mental health has no grip on any of us because of Jesus. It's hard to believe that in the moment, absolutely, but he will lead us to greener pastures no matter what, and that's something that I can definitely guarantee.